So let's talk about the topic of the day, which is hemp, the plant of hemp. And we want to start to clarify that hemp and the marijuana plant are different. These are not the same plant.
No, they're not the same plant. They are in the cannabis family, or it's Cannabaceae. I think that's how you pronounce it. Another plant in that family. So there's hemp, there's marijuana, and another plant under that umbrella is also the hops plant as well.
So when you say under the umbrella, are they the same variety? They're the same family, but is it like having 3 tomato plants, but they're all different? You know, red tomato, a purple tomato.
It's kind of like maple trees.
Okay.
So like there's silver maple, there's sugar maple, I think there's Japanese maple. So it's kind of like that. So it's like they produce different things. Like sugar maple, you get maple syrup from, and silver maple are just pretty silvery leaves. So yes and no, they're kind of in the same family, but they're not the same plant.
Okay, so let's talk about facts here, or information about the hemp plant that people may not be familiar with, that really are pretty fascinating when you get down to the actual basis of what it is capable and is used for.
Yeah, so hemp is actually thought to be the first domestically cultivated plant, which means that, like, throughout the years, purposely plant. So before maybe people would forage or whatever, this is something that goes back to probably about 8,000 years ago, found in Turkey, which was Mesopotamia at the time. Now, hemp products are legal in the United States, though the ingredients or the end products are currently imported from other countries, mostly Canada.
So it's legal to use it in the United States. They are now allowing farmers in certain states to actually grow agriculturally the plant of hemp. It's heavily regulated through the USDA, and there's a whole lot of red tape that goes along with it. But currently, everything that we use, we have to import from Canada, this particular thing. Also, the hemp products that we use, the creams and the other items that you get, again, since they're not the same plant as marijuana, the hemp plant does not contain the THC that you would find in marijuana. That is the active ingredient that creates that, people say, that high that they get. So the hemp plant, you do not have to worry about that because it doesn't contain that element in the actual plant itself.
Right. That's correct. So, yeah. A fun fact here is that Benjamin Franklin used hemp in his paper mill, which is one of the country's first paper mill, and the first 2 copies of the Declaration of Independence were supposedly written on hemp paper.
So marijuana plants cannot be hidden among hemp plants. If somebody was, because on the farm growing up, back in southern Illinois, where I'm from, you would hear stories that, in the middle of a cornfield, a farmer would be harvesting crops in the fall, and they would find like a pot of marijuana. A plot. Yeah, they would go in there and hack down the corn, and then hide it in there. You can't do that with hemp. I mean, you can't intermingle the 2 plants together to hide one for the other.
No, so marijuana...
It's not a polyculture, a plant.
Right. You would know the difference. So marijuana is like a shorter, bushier plant, and hemp is a taller, it's growing for the stalks, for the fiber.
More of a slender
Yeah, so marijuana might get like 5 to 10 feet tall. Hemp is going to get 10 to 15 feet tall.
Well, hemp can grow nearly anywhere in the world in many different types of soil, even in short growing seasons or even dry regions. So it's a very, very adaptable plant for what we can use it for. Different studies or different articles that we have found and you can find online says that the hemp plant can be used to make 25 to 50,000 different products, or are involved in the making or incorporated in that many different products throughout the world. Now, it's much more used in other countries in the making of certain products than the United States. The United States is far behind in the manufacturing uses of hemp.
So the cool thing about hemp is that you can grow it in it doesn't have to be grown in the best soil. You can grow it in kind of crappy soil, but also it's 120 days till it's mature, essentially. So it has a pretty short season. That's 4 months. 4 months, yeah. And it can be harvested.
And hemp can be used, as you talked about, paper, into paper. So let's take this little scenario. You have an acre of ground. You plant hemp. Takes 120 days to reach maturity. You can harvest it and make paper out of it. Or you can grow an acre of trees, wait 20 years, harvest it, and make paper out of it.
Right. Also, hemp it doesn't need pesticides to grow. So, like, it's kind of resistant to a lot of bugs.
Naturally.
And rodents, yep. So it's not something that requires those pesticides. And
now, the theory or the conspiracy theory of why we don't have a lot of paper in the United States that is manufactured from hemp is because there's major paper companies that have been fighting that legislation for a number of years to prevent that from happening because, as I just illustrated, the quickness that the hemp will grow can put some of these companies out of business, the paper companies, because, hey, instead of using trees, we can use this plant as the manufacturing basis of paper, and you no longer have a company because we don't need your trees.
Right, and also the people who work for the companies,
it's
paper mills, yep.
Deep pockets, legislation.
Those are in respect to the fact that there's a ton of paper mills in Wisconsin.
Right.
We have to respect the fact that people do have jobs and things.
Right, I understand that.
And so, hemp
from an environmental standpoint, I'm speaking of the quickness of the return on investment, the less of the environmental impact that one can have with growing the hemp.
That's true, but just like anything with change, there's going to be resistance.
Right. And with both hemp as paper and trees as paper, there's pros and cons to both levels that we're not going to get into. We're just stating some facts here.
But aside from the paper use and the less water that goes into it and time, whatever, hemp has the longest plant fiber in the world, so it can be used, that plant fiber can be used like cloth for like ropes and also for netting and for making into bags and things like that. It has cloth-like qualities.
So it's like a long string inside of the stalk is what you're referring to as a plant fiber.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why it can be used to make anything from, it has a strong fiber also, and it's got like a composite material, so it can be make anything from skateboard decks to car parts and stealth fighter bodies. So if you could have a hemp stealth plane. Absolutely, because of the tensile strength of that and the intensity of that. To me, it's kind of like a really cool weed because it grows pretty well.
It kind of has the same properties of carbon fiber to a certain extent.
But what I'm saying is that it's not a plant that needs to be babied.
Right.
So it's like a weed in a sense because
come back and harvest.
Yeah, weeds are kind of
resilient,
and that's how hemp it seems to me to be.
What else is about the hemp plant that we maybe are not familiar with?
So one thing is that Henry Ford, he created a plastic car in 1941.
A plastic car or a hemp car?
A plastic car.
Okay.
But it ran on hemp and other plant-based fuels. And
that wouldn't go today.
No, and the hemp was also the fenders were made with hemp, so that was like a plastic material.
Hemp used to be very popular and very much cultivated in the United States many years ago. 1800s, the state of Kentucky produced half of the industry's hemp in the United States. So, regulations and restrictions started to be implemented on the production of hemp in the United States in the 20th century.
So here's another fun fact: is that so we all know about the Victory Gardens, or most of us know about the Victory Gardens during World War II. People were encouraged to grow their own food. There was a movement called Hemp for Victory, encouraging farmers to grow hemp for their country because of its multiple uses. And at one point during the war, there was over 100,000 acres of hemp growing in the U.S.
There you go.
But after World War II ended, then they got rid of those permits.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, there are some interesting facts that you may not know about hemp, the plant. So it is making a comeback in certain parts of the United States, and we may see it in the use of products again on a much larger scale.
For more information, please visit thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com.